how to plan a step-by-step progress strategy for your horse. Today I'm going to share with you how I turn my vision into a plan and how you can then turn your vision with your horse into a plan. And for my students who are on here, you'll be familiar with this piece because this is what we teach in week 1 of our program. And I will share with you how I integrate my life with horses, and I will share with you how to have excellent communication with your horse. I used to be more or less the type of person that was just surrendering, whatever happens type of thing, but always wanted to make progress with my horses. And so I, over the years, developed this system. It helps you to stay on track, it helps you to not get distracted, and it helps you to not get overwhelmed as well. You need to look at these components that I'm going to tell you here. The first component is clarity for your mind and your body. When you do this, you can back engineer yourself to make better choices because you are working with the end in mind. All right, so you're having clarity of where you are now and where you want to be, and we have processes for doing that, and you can back engineer your way so that you can then work on a plan that's just for you and your horse. We want to fall in love with the process, right? So it's not just completely goal-oriented. When you have clarity in your mind and your body, you can then say no and establish those boundaries with your horse with compassion, but also with power. It also helps you to stay strong. The other thing about clarity is that it helps you to make the right choices with your horse. So we are constantly having to make choices. I mean, whether it's with our riding or our, feeding our horses or whatever. When you have clarity, it helps you to make the right choices with our horse. And the clearer you are in all of these areas, the more results you will get and the more impact you will have on your horse. The process of clarity starts with number 1, which is our minds and our bodies, right? What do we need to let go of? In our bodies, where are we held? Where is our movement held? As we stand perhaps in a rest position, what do we need to let go of? As we move with our horses in hand, what do we need to let go of? Where do we need to have more cohesion perhaps as we ride? Riding is not just following the horse, right? There's a lot more to it. There's some releasing that has to happen. There's some cohesion that has to happen. There's connection that needs to happen. So these are all questions that help us to get clarity in our minds and our bodies. When you have those niggling things happening in your body, that is going to hold you back. And then how is your movement speaking to your horse? How are your emotions speaking to your horse? And that's what I mean by clarity in our minds. And so when you know the answers to these questions, the why you are doing it, and what you're doing with your horse, then it makes more sense. I'm going to give you the next component, and then I'll show you how to make your plan. So you have these questions, you can answer these questions for yourself. This is the first component. It all revolves around the rider, around you, your mind, and your movement. And if you want to get my lives, if you want to get notifications, make sure you click the bell icon so it fills in black, and then you will get notifications when I go live. So number 2 is clarity with our horses' minds and bodies. Reading your horse, understanding what is missing. What blockages does your horse have? So just like we have physical nigglings or blockages, our horses will also have those. What does your horse have? What are some specific blockages that your horse has? What do you think is going to make your horse more comfortable in his or her body? These are questions that I want you to think about because this will be how you set up your plan. And now around our horse's mind, how do I create curiosity in my horse? We all know that curiosity is a core emotion with horses. They're naturally curious, aren't they? If we can help them to be curious around us, that will help them with their minds, with their emotions, what's going inside in their minds and their emotions. How do we find out what our horse is thinking? One way is to find out what are their buttons that get pushed. If someone says something or does something that you really get annoyed by, or it makes you go very emotional, that's a button that gets pushed in you. Horses have the same. They have a situation that pushes their button, that causes them to become emotional. It causes them to go over onto the other side of being emotional. So when we make our step-by-step plan, we need to consider what are those buttons in our horses. We need to identify them. We need to label them. We need to find out exactly what they are so that then we can accept them, live with them, work on healing them or changing them slightly, and then maintaining that. When we work in this realm of the buttons, I call it, we're not going to change our horses completely, but we do want to help them with the situation, right? So we want to address what those buttons are, help them with the situation, and so this is going to be very important in your step-by-step plan. And the last question I have for you around your horse's mind and body is, how do I create draw in my horse so that they can't help but listen to us? As we mentioned, horses are naturally curious, aren't they? So how do I create that draw so that they will stay curious when they're with me? They'll want to be with me because I help them to feel better emotionally. I help them to feel better physically. Those are ways that you can help to create that draw rather than always doing things that are like driving them away from you, physically, mentally, emotionally. Now, how do I integrate life? The number one thing that I do is that I make choices. I don't make decisions, I make choices. Decisions are dead end. The word decide, if you split it apart, the root word decide means to set apart, and side, like genocide, fungicide, herbicide, pesticide, whatever, means to kill. So when you make a decision, you are allowing circumstance to dictate to you what you do and therefore your outcomes. Then your outcomes will not be achieved and you will become a victim to your circumstances. When we look at life and in this difficult pandemic or whatever situation you're dealing with, you can make choices, and you can make choices that are going to help you to reach your outcome. So you're going to reach your outcome by making those steps, those tiny steps, day by day, with your horse. They don't have to be huge steps. We have our two categories, and I'm going to now show you how to implement your plan. Category number one was clarity in our minds and our bodies. Clarity in how we think, how our emotions are, and how we are physically with our horses. Component number two is clarity in our horses' minds and bodies, right? So how our horses think. What are their buttons that cause them to become emotional? How do they move? How can I make them feel better by helping them move better? So that's category number two. Now what you're going to do is implement your plan. You're going to implement your plan by choosing 3 items from each component of clarity, right? And I gave you questions, lots of questions. So now you're going to pick 3 of those questions. Answer those questions, and that's going to be in your clarity for your mind and body. Then you're going to pick 3 questions that I gave you, or items, from the category number 2, which is clarity from your horse's mind and body. So you will end up with 6 items, right? 6 items in your plan. And I'll give you an example. So an example from the category number 1, clarity in your mind and your body, might be, in hand, I'm going to practice my slide points as I connect with my horse in the lateral movements. I will spend 10 minutes a day letting go of negative emotions. All right, so those are just a couple of examples. Yours are going to be different because you're going to be dealing and answering the questions that I gave you from each of the categories. And so now you have 3 items in category 1, 3 items in category 2. And you're going to do this for approximately 30 days. The items can overlap, right? They don't have to be completely different. They probably will overlap somewhere. Make sure that you do at least 1 item each day. So even if you're not with your horse, you can work on your own mind, right? You can do the one about 10 minutes a day of letting go of negative emotions, but do at least 1 item a day. And so this is a step-by-step approach that will promote improvement for you and your horse, definitely. It's not overwhelming. And if you work with us in our program, we actually hold you accountable to this process, to this plan. So every month we help you with setting up your strategy with your horse so that you have a plan that you're going through. And we help you to sort out the plan, sort out the strategy, find what it is specific to you and specific to your horse. And we guide you through this process. So there will be a link somewhere around this video. You can click on that link if you want to apply to work with me in my program. In my program, again, we deal a lot with how to feel, right? Actually getting into the details of what the feeling is like and how to feel. Because riding is all about feeling, right? It's all about movement. It's all about physics. There's no mystery to it. It's very clear. It's very simple, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. And so finding help, whether it's help from me or help from somebody else, is something that's going to, help you with your plan as you go to make progress with your horse. I will see you next time. So take care and have a great weekend. Bye for now.